So I have this car that just came in. I'm trying to repair. So it turns out that this is a Chrysler 300C 5.7 Hemi, and we're going to be replacing the oil pan and the subframe, which is known as the cradle, which supports the engine, has all the steering components and suspension components attached to it. And we're going to kind of document what I'm going to be doing. So as you can see, it has pretty substantial frame damage, radiator condenser, the radiator support, it's bent out of shape, took a pretty good hit, broke the oil pan. Luckily it didn't break the rack and pinion or the hoses there, even though there is a leak. Well, it's probably from the oil that splattered everywhere. Hit there pretty good. So we're just gonna replace the whole cradle, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and remove all this stuff, take the wheels off, and start working on taking it apart. See what else I find. This is what we got. Alright, so I went ahead and started the procedure on removing the subframe. Alright, so I took off the knuckle. It's over there. I got a 18 millimeter. I believe this is a 21 for the sway bar link. This was another 18. Got a bar that goes through here. I believe that's a 21, and it, or it might be an 18 actually. It's for the strut here. Then the lower control arm thing, well, actually it's the ball joint that goes through here on the knuckle. I went ahead and took off the caliper and hung it. It has a 10 millimeter screw that holds it in place here, and then you got the wheel speed sensor that's also held by a 10 millimeter. So obviously first I took off the wheels, and then I took those off so I can kind of isolate the cradle on the suspension and steering section. So far I still gotta remove the rack and pinion, but more than likely I'm just going to disconnect it because the hoses are pretty easy to reach. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side, and if there's any differences I'll share that with you. Alright, so I've went ahead and did the same thing to the driver's side. Now I'm working on the rack and pinion. So I already separated it over there. I marked it. I believe it only goes in one way, but once you disconnect this, you don't want to rotate the steering wheel anymore, because then you can break your clock spring when you put it back together. Also try not to move the rack and pinion anymore, so that way you're correct when it goes in. I marked it, you see that white line, and also marked it on this section here. That nut, that bolt that you see sticking out right there is a 13 millimeter. That came off with a 13 millimeter. I just kept wrenching on it until it came out. Obviously pulled it all the way out. Then I was able to push up on this. It has enough wiggle and give where you can slide off the stub here for the rack and pinion. And then you got the return and power pressure line. I believe they're both. I was able to use a 19 millimeter, though they probably use a standard size. 19 millimeter was the only one I can use. 18 was too small, and 19 felt like it had a little bit of play, but it still worked. So probably standard somewhere in the middle. I don't know what that would be. Also, alright, so here's the bolt. So this is a 15 millimeter. There's another one on this side. In the back, you hold the nut with an 18 millimeter, and then these lines here, you got these two lines of return, and see they go to the cooler, I believe. They're bracketed on. So there's actually a bracket here too. They're bracketed on the top up here with a 10 millimeter bolt or screw. See if I can move it over so you can see. See? So that's the bracket there. And they're screwed onto the subframe. So before you drop the subframe, you also have to remove that. So you got one here, and it looks like there's another one up here. It's probably also going to be a 10 millimeter. Now I'm just draining the power steering fluid and just letting it finish. But other than that, the 15 and the 18, I'm going to take those off so then I can drop the rack and pinion out and move it out of the way. In theory, I should be able to just drop the subframe with the rack and pinion attached, but I'm just going to move it out of the way. Or maybe I won't, I don't know. I'll see what I decide once I get all this stuff in the way. And you can see where this thing cracked. Subframe there. Even bent the pickup tube. So I'm going to replace that too. Pretty good crack. Luckily the engine was able to be salvaged by turning off the engine as soon as it ran out of oil pressure. So yeah, that's where I'm at now. So I'll give you an update as soon as I go on to the next. If anything, maybe I might just move on to the motor mounts. You got a couple of motor mount bolts, one here, and maybe I'll take those off instead. I'll let you know in a minute. Alright, so I went ahead and removed the rack and pinion. There's a couple of bolts. I also removed the two stud. Actually, it's supposed to be a stud that goes all the way through that's attached to the mount, but the stud and the nut came out with it on this side, and on the other side the two studs stayed in place and the nuts came out. So actually now it's just a matter of bringing down the subframe, but I need something to hold up the engine so it won't teeter down and crush me to death. So I'm going to get a engine. It's like a bridge that actually sits on the top over the top of the engine and supports the engine from above, keeping it from falling down. I'm gonna have to go get that, but as of now I'm gonna take off this what's it called, it's radiator support, because it's also bent. As you can see, it's where it hit and then it tumbled, smashed this thing, cracked the pan, slammed into that part of the subframe on the cradle, and just kept going and actually hit a little bit. I don't know if you can see the dent there. Hit the transmission pan and left a dent. It didn't make it leak, and I don't see any leaks on it, but it did destroy the shit out of all this stuff. Anyway, I'm gonna take these off. These are 14 millimeter. I'm gonna take this off. Maybe I can put something over here by where the flywheel is, so maybe I don't have to go and get the part. I can just brace it here with my engine jack. I'm sorry, my transmission jack, and some wood to protect the pulley. I'm gonna take this off, see if I can remove the radiator and all this other stuff out of the way, and I'll go from there. So that's where I'm at right now. I already went ahead and dropped the subframe. All I did was put a support underneath the back part of the cradle with the jack, and literally just brought it down. It takes 4 of these really long 18 millimeter bolts. I just hit it with my impact Milwaukee. I walked them out pretty easy. So that was pretty much it. You can see where it hit. So we can stand this up. See the impact there. Smashed it pretty good. Bent it out of shape and broke the pan. Got this really big hole. But not only that, I think it might also need some timing, because this came out and I don't know what the hell this is. I need to look at it. But what I did notice is that now the chain has some slack in it. I don't know, I can't see that. But whatever that was up there, I think they're the time. Yeah, I think those were the guides. You can hear it. Or you can catch that back there. Let's see if I can zoom in on it. You can see that chain back there is wiggling. So I guess the impact might have been hard enough to break the plastic guides. And I believe this is one of them. And the plastic guide is now gone. The chain is just wiggling. It's got no tension on it. I don't even know if it fell out of timing or what. I don't see any. It's got a little bit of thrust on it. Yeah, all of them we got a little bit. I don't know if that's normal or not, how much thrust it's supposed to have. A little bit of wiggle. That might be normal. The back of the piston looks good. Check all 8. But I think that's just like the tensioner shims or something. They were loose and they bent this out of shape. I'll replace that too. Alright, so this is the next day. I went ahead and got a new cradle, or a used one. Looks in good shape. This is from Challenger 2010. Apparently they probably fit each other. It looks pretty much the same. Turns out that those pieces that fell out of the bottom of the engine were part of the timing tensioner. As you can see here, this is what they look like. And actually I went ahead and bought another. Holy shit, it's windy today. It's freaking garage doors acting crazy. Anyway, so this is the new tensioner assembly. Goes behind the timing chain. I don't know if you could see. Let me see. I'm gonna tear this open. 1 second. But these springs here, I don't know if you can see this spring, make out that spring in the middle. See that thing? So it has got that little slot right there. That's what these are. Clean the lens a little bit. So that's what those are. So yeah, the timing belt is timing chain is loose, so I'm gonna end up replacing it anyway. I think I'm gonna just end up using the same pickup tube. The screen's a little bent out of shape. I don't think anything went in there. I'll double check it, but I tried to get one short notice and they didn't have any, so this should be a good angle enough to just slurp up the oil anyway. Should be good enough. Yeah, so I'm gonna leave it like that. But I got the new subframe cradle, and I'm gonna put it in right now. At least seat it so I can undo the timing cover. So yeah, good times. All right, so I mounted the subframe. I just kind of propped it up so I can put some weight the engine, put the engine down on the subframe, so then I can work on the timing cover. Here's a timing plate. It's missing everything that is supposed to be on there. Actually, I saw it. I found a chunk of plastic that was laying around inside there, but I took the timing chain already off, cleaning the surface. I marked the timing mark on the crank sprocket, and I have the cam gear up here. I'm gonna reuse the chain. The chain looks okay to me. This is pretty easy to do timing on. It's pretty simple. My main concern is to making sure that all the surfaces are clean. But yes, that's not part of the whole subframe replacement thing, but since I'm doing the timing cover and the chain, I'm gonna add a couple of steps, I guess, here to what I'm doing. And yeah, but so far I put the subframe on kind of loosely. I threaded a couple of bolts on each corner, which is four bolts, just so I can not worry about the engine falling on me. I had to loosen the alternator and also a couple of bolts here on the AC pump. Other than that, this tube here that feeds the coolant, I was kind of holding on to the timing cover, and it wouldn't let go, and I didn't know why, and I finally took a look and I saw why it was this, so I just pulled on it hard enough. Also, this pipe here, it's in the freaking way, so I had to push up on it a little bit without cracking anything, of course, but it was kind of a bear to get through the hollow effects there, hollow whatever it's called, a hollow whatever, these little squares. But anyway, this plate here is what picks up the cam position. Anyway, this was, I couldn't get it past this, so it took because this was pinning it down, and then this wheel here was the reluctor, what it's called, the reluctor wheel, was keeping it from clearing. But I got it out. I was just careful not to bend this stupid thing here. Other than that, yeah, I'm gonna take this one off and put in the new one. I believe these are 13 millimeters. There's like 3 of them. The new one will come with the pin holding the tension back, and that's what I'm gonna do now. So I'm gonna put these in, and then the new one in, and then I'm gonna clean the surface a little bit better, so then I can put the timing cover back on. And I got a new gasket set for the timing cover, and I believe the new crank seal here also, the front harmonic balancer seal. So that's where I'm at right now, and I'll be back. All right, so I already went ahead and I put in the chain. I put the new timing tensioner. You see the new tensioner there? It comes with the grenade pin, it comes with the guides. Here's the other guide. You got the timing mark for the cam lined up there with the 2 colored links. And then if you go down here, you see the other timing mark. Actually, normally you can't see the way it's timed there, because there's a dot. It's on the tooth. You can't really see it on the tooth once the chain is on. But I got a colored paint marker, and I painted that dot, and I made it very obvious. Just smear the crap out of the paint so you can actually see. I mean, smeared it on the crank sprocket, so you can get a really good sign of where it's supposed to be. So that's it. We got the new, you can see the new tensioner. I am pretty confident that that's it. Let me see. You can actually see through the grill here. Anyway, so it's timed. I'm gonna put the cam bolt in there, 13 mil, I believe that is 13 or 15, I don't remember. Let me see. I believe it's a 15. Yeah, it's a 15. So use my very precise tool. This is a 1/4 inch drive, so it doesn't really have a lot of torque. You want to torque it to the correct specs, which is, I don't know. I use the German method, which is good and tight, and just to make sure I don't it's not under tightened. I don't think I can over tighten it. I mean, I'm not gonna crank on this thing, I know better than that, but I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna get some good use the tight method, and should be good enough. I'm not worried that it's gonna fall out of place or it's gonna break. So yeah, but that's, I just added this on the extra footage on this, just so, since I was doing it, I might as well. But yeah, once I get this tightened up, I'll move on to the pan. All right, so I got the timing cover on properly, the water pump, bolted up the 2 bolts for the power steering and the 3 bolts for the alternator. Put the tensioner pulley with bracket on, tightened up all the bolts, tightened up the hose. Now I'm cleaning the surface for where the pan is going to go. Cleaned up all that old gaskets sealer that they put on here before. Still got a little bit right there. So I'm doing all the way around here on these where it joins, where the timing cover joins the block. I'm gonna put some silicone on there. So a little dab, a little blob, just to make sure it doesn't leak there too. And then it looks like in the back's gonna need some, just to make sure. The rest is gonna be torqued down. This I will torque down to spec, because it needs to be, the new gasket needs to be crushed, and it needs to sit properly or else it'll leak. And also apparently the cover is also part of the structure for the engine. I guess it helps with the flex of the block, so that needs to be tightened properly. So I will do that to proper spec. I will look that up because I don't know offhand, but more than likely it's probably going to be in inch pounds, except for maybe the big bolts that are about 15 millimeter, but the rest are 10 millimeter, and typically they're about 124 inch pounds. At least that's what the norm has been that I've seen. Up here you can see the new guides and the timing. There's no more slack. Can't even wiggle it. So that's what I'm gonna do next. Alright, so here's a new gasket. Steel gasket. Velcro. Here's a new pan. It's nice and pretty. Shiny. All aluminum. It's gonna be delicious when it goes back in. It's gonna look beautiful. Guess I don't know what that is. That's part number, or what is that? Yeah, it looks like it's a part number. While we're at it, let's check out the part number for the Velcro. Velcro gasket. And So now the maiden surface is clean, or should be clean. I'm going to slip on the gasket. See if I can, how am I going to figure out how to keep it up there so it won't fall off. And then I'm going to put some silicone on those corners, and then we'll see about getting the pan on. I don't know if I have to put the engine higher, or do I have to drop the subframe again, or how that's going to go. I'll check in a minute. I'll let you know. Okay, so the pan is in, torqued. Apparently it's 106 inch-pounds for the small 10 millimeters, and for the 15 millimeters in the back is 39 foot-pounds with a normal, I guess, cross pattern. So it's in. I got in the subframe back on. Made it a lot easier to put that pan on. So now I'm just going to do the suspension. We'll start with the control arms, thrust arms, all this suspension stuff. The steering will be next. But for now it's going to be the knuckle control arms, so I can be done with the knuckles. Or if anything, maybe the sway bar first. It can be sway bar and then knuckles. So yeah, that's the update. Alright, so here's the last update for today. I went ahead and put all the knuckles and ball joints, control arms, thrust arms, whatever. Everything is in. Shoot. Got the power steering lines in. Got the rack and pinion in, got it connected. You can see the pan is in. I put some oil. Actually, I just need to put the dipstick tube and the dipstick in. Got the mounts on. Where are they? Right there, got the mounts on. Got the tie rods connected, both ends. Everything's pretty much almost ready to go. Got the radiator in. New radiator, new condenser. Just gotta put the hoses on. But yeah, pretty much I just wanted to document the dropping the cradle. I added more than I wanted to, but that's all that was needed to fix this car. So it's pretty much done. Maybe I'll record starting it up tomorrow so you can see how it fares. That's pretty much it. So good night, and let's see about tomorrow. Alright, so I already went ahead and turned it on. Now I'm just burping out the cooling system. It's running good. So far, no leaks. Looking good. Burning off whatever residual oils was left over from when it first broke. So that's it. I want to give you a quick update, show you that it's running.